Adventures in modified Subaru ownership occurring. Noticed that I had a power steering fluid leak, and so I was trying to figure out where it was coming from. I thought maybe it was this line over here that I was rubbing with the oil line, which there does look to be a little bit of fluid on that. I'm going to just double check on that as well. But the big one is this hard line that comes down here and is rubbing on the Cobb airbox. Look at that. It's basically got a giant hole in the side of it. So, gonna have to pull all that out. Luckily, at least this hard line I have on the parts car over there. Alright, got the airbox out. Cleaned off the line, and it does look a little worn there, but it does not look like it went through enough to have a hole in it. So I went and inspected this part right here. You can see where that line touches right on top of the other line. And if I lift this up, see if you can see that. You can kind of see where it's created the indentation of this particular line right on top of that. So the way that's routed is not ideal. You can see kind of fluid all over everything underneath that. So I think that's the line, which is unfortunate because that's the lot more difficult one to fix. Boo. Well, there's a nice clear view of the destruction. Seeping right out. Alright, skip ahead several hours later. So I got the new lines cleaned up, installed, got my reservoir all cleaned up, switched out this one to the rubber hose that came from the parts car, got it all hooked up. Did have to kind of disassemble this side of the suspension to kind of reach everything easily, but that's okay because I needed to replace that axle anyway. That got everything out of the way, made it a little easier, because as you can see, it's a pretty tight fit in there to get to those lines. So hopefully we'll get it started up here in a little bit after I get everything back together and make sure that we have no leaks. Alright, got everything installed, rerouted all these hoses, got this thing turned around, so now the only thing it's rubbing on is something over here, but I put a little rubber hose on it with a zip tie to keep a little extra padding on there, and that should clear the power steering line now. Haven't started it up yet, but we'll do that shortly and check for leaks and bleed the system. Got all of the suspension back together with the new, well, not new, it's used but in better condition. Axle there, so should be ready to go. Everything's all buttoned up. Had only one small little leak where the banjo bolt going into the pump wasn't tight enough, and I got everything torqued down in the suspension as best I could. I didn't have a torque wrench that went high enough for the axle nut, so I just used a breaker bar and got it as tight as I could without breaking it. And yep, she's back on the road, no leaks, no sounds. Huzzah! 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 Huzzah!